Hi everyone, I'd like to share a new animation retargeting process that I've recently mastered. 2 years ago, when I started to learn how to make animation, I created few unprofessional scarabs and I used them as my game's character. But as the project progressed, the huge animation work gradually terrified me. I started looking for ways to use existing animation from the Unreal Engine marketplace. Most of the methods are about accurate retargeting, or mapping the chance of each part between two scarabs. But they all failed strangely. I've been looking for a way, like a point-to-point retargeting, like Mocap. I feel it will never fail. Recently, I finally started to learn about control rig. Building a control rig from scratch looks so complicated. That's why I didn't touch it before, until I realized I need a more efficient workflow. After I getting the hang of control rig, I realized it enables the exact mocap style retargeting I need. Next, I'm going to show you how I made it happen. I will use this Centaur model. It has no neck, and its forward legs have only 2 leg bones. I will put its FBX file below the video. Now, let's come to Unreal Engine. We create a float and name it Centaur. Then, import the Centaur FBX file. Keep all options default, and we don't need a material here. Select this scattered mesh, create, and control rig. Now, let's open the control rig. Here is nothing but our skeleton mesh. Our goal is to create a set of controls to control the mesh. To do this, we select all bones, right-click, New Element, New Control. These controls were very large at first, so we select them all. Find the shape transform in their details. Attention, not the transform above. We want shape transform. Now they look better. So these red spheres, they correspond to the control of the selector. Now there's a problem. Its road ball hides in the body. It should be on the floor, mostly. You should move it using this coordinate axis, or the transform mentioned above in the details. They are mainly used to preview the running starts. So let's get back to the shape transform. Remove the z-axis to make it to the front. I'm gonna change its shape. For the road bone, I prefer the arrow 4, which shows the road direction clearly. Then, let's modify the bones in the spine. The reason why we create controls is to control bones, the mesh, but they don't work yet. We need to write a program to control the scalar. Here, let's start with the road bone. I put it out. Set bone. Make sure the type is bone, and the name is road. Then, we need the road control. Get control. This time, make sure the type is control. We need a controls transform. No matter how we change the control, the bone was set to copy that. Next, I will configure other bones on spine and use the same way. Now, I need to get its arm to reach the position I point. This node, CCDIK, is suitable here. I needed to affect these 3 bones. Attention, we are not selecting controls, but bones. So here I select them. It has to select from road bow like shoulder, to the end bow like forearm in this case. Create item array. Now they are in one array. Connect to CCDIK. Now there is a bug because we haven't given it a go, so we need a controls transform here. In this case, I choose from arm control. Now this arm follows the control. I'm gonna quickly attach IK to the other limbs. Now all limbs move using IK, but it's bad for the forelegs. As you see, the muscle there is stuck. So here, select CCDIK of front legs. We need to use the old way. Set bones to copy transform from controls. Let's move the controls by shape transform, which hiding in the body to outside. Now the up part of front legs can be moved. Because of IK, some controls will not be used. So I select an all. We go to details, visible, and false. Now it looks much better. Finally, I change the left side controls to blue for better differentiation. For the control rig to scene, it switched to animation mode, and here a sequence is created automatically, and Centaur scanner with control ring has been inside. You can see how control rigs works here. Next, it's time to give you a reference animation. Centaurs possess elements of both humans and horse. So we need human animation first. I use this workman animation from the starter content. Place it to scene, then drag it to sequence from word outliner. It automatically binds to a control rig. Let's ignore it for now. Inside here, animation check this addition symbol, WALK. Select the one we want. Nothing happened. Here we should delete its control rig. It's playing work animation now. Oh no, it's working backward. Right click on the animation. Properties. Here, change the animation to work forward. This is what I want. Can't find horse animation for free, so I use this animation pack. It's always free, and there are some deer animations. Drag it to sequence. The same, there was no animation at first. We want a deer walking animation. It is quite close to a horse. I want to put their bodies together. Now, they are roughly like a centaur, but their animation speeds are different. So here, in this work animation sequence, I change the rate scaler to make it slower, and adjust the relative position of the animals to make them work in unison. Now, they are more like a centaur. We overlapped the centaur with them. Modify the scalar of both deer and a human. Now, their scalars look about the same. It's time to move the control. Make its left arm to overlap the man's left arm. Now, the most crucial step. Look here, constraints. Click the addition behind it. There are fewer choices. We choose parent. Then select the man. Select his lower arm left. Now, the left arm control will force the man's arm. In this way, let's set up the other arm. Adjust its position, set parent, and chest. The chest has already moved the head. I want to keep their positional relationship, so this time I select rotation. Head. To the head, I only want it to copy rotation. And I will show you later why there's sometimes we only copy rotation. Let's hide the human and show the deer. For the deer, I like to copy the spine motion first, because seeing the main movement immediately, you also see the feeling you want. Then, the back leg controls, which are using AK, should follow the foots. The front legs were divided to two controls. Let's set the upper leg first. Next, I will show you that there's some situation you can't use parent, because their bones were not 100% similar. Once we make the two controls to copy the deer's two bones, they will just do it and don't care whether they are fractured. Now, I delete the parent constraint. This time, we only copy rotation and keep the location constraint with the upper leg. Everything is working successfully. Now, you can see the legs of these two animals are quite different. That's why we fear of using parent. Don't forget the other leg. We missed one control. It's the connection between the human and the horse's bodies. But the human and horse parts are not in unison, because the upper and lower spine controls, they replicate different animals. So this issue, you must make your own judgment to change their falling bones. In this case, I make them both copy the deer's neck. We now have a working Centaur animation, and we need to save it. So click the Centaur scaler, we find here, back animation sequence. I will save it to the Centaur float. I think it records and big changes of scalars. I don't have to change anything, just keep them default. Explode. Now let's check what we get. Because the human's chest was bind to the deer's neck, his arm looked a little weird. You can modify them later, or just buy another boss. If you are a perfectionist, you've got to check out this radio by Nova Effectus. The way he breaks down the constraint details is super clear. I left the link in the description. We haven't talked about road motion yet. If you need some attack and a jumping animation, you will need them to have a road motion. Now, I will change the deer's animation to this one land run. And the horse part follows, but the human part stands in place, because there is no movement in the human animation. Let's hide the centaur for now. In order to keep the correct relative position of human and deer, I make the deer to play walk animation again. They are now back to the form of Centaur. Now I select the human's whole selector and make the deer's neck to be his parent. Then we get back to run animation. The human's body now can be transformed of the deer's neck. No matter location or rotation, they were just like a human centipede. Let's look back to the Centaur. It looks good, but there's still not root motion. And I will show you that once we find the root control. It's hiding on the floor, that's why I ignored it. It was set too low to see. We open the control rig again and set it higher in shape transform. This arrow control makes the location of the root bone, so you can see the root is still in place. Just bone below the parents are moving. So one last constraint belongs to the root control. We also select parent to the deer's root. Because its animation has root motion already, the movement we are seeing now is actually a movement of the entire skeleton. Sometimes the animation you want, it just moves but without root, like what we did before. So let's pretend this animation doesn't have root motion. We delete the constraint of the root. This time, we choose deer's parents to be parents of the root control. You definitely see it's working, because it also copied the parent's rotation. But usually, we don't need the root to rotate, especially root and a pitch. So in this situation, I would like to use another constraint. It's called translation, and it copies location only. Now, the root control follows the deer and there's no rotation. It follows the parents and fly a while. Sometimes, you will need this kind of movement to get over obstacles. But what if you need a root to always keep on floor? You can find this overflow menu behind the overtranslation. We are looking for axis filter. You can see that 3 axis options are available. Let's try to keep Z axis only first. Great. Now, our root control only copied the Z axis motion. So let's try again. This time, we only select X and Y axis, no Z axis. Now, the root control will not be in air. You can also find the axis filter in rotation, which you can ignore 1 or 2 rotate axes. Finally, let's bake this animation. Or default. It looks like the root is not on floor, because the Centaur's root was close to Paris at start. To see its root motion, you should observe its relative height during its movement. Sometimes, their builds could be more different. From head to toe, the proportions are completely random. So here's my solution. I need a bridge character, then fix them both. I upload my character mesh to Mixamo. For humanoids, it smartly builds a basic ridge while keeping the weirder proportions. A standard character means mature retargeting tools are ready to use. For example, with this plugin, you can easily retargeting goes both ways between Mixamo and the Unreal's character, and they are always doing well. First, you pass the Unreal animation over to Mixamo. Since Mixamo fixes your character perfectly, You can then use the Mocap method to snap the animation right onto your character. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please wishlist my game, Devoris. It's the best way to support me.